I just want to welcome everyone to this my first podcast here. I'm not exactly sure what I want to name it yet. I'm thinking about the update or that's my only name right now. But I was first just gonna talk about my fantasy football kind of draft and the pre-draft, like 1 hour before the draft, and post-draft. So, a bunch of my friends from my school, so there's about 12 people in our league, and we decided to do a fantasy football draft this past weekend. Was it this past Sunday at 8 o'clock? And we had like 5 days in advance to kind of prepare. I thought I was really prepared going into this draft. I was prepared for at least my first picks, but after like probably the fifth round, I had no idea who I wanted to pick. Any players were, and it was a tough situation for me personally. Let's see, how I prepared was before the draft, at least an hour before, 2 hours before, whatever. I went onto the fantasy football kind of this online website to see all the quarterbacks, running backs, defenses, kickers, whatever, ranked. And I got a feeling of kind of what I wanted in like the sense of if the running backs go first, who do I choose? Like if the top three, like let's say running backs get chosen, I choose maybe a quarterback, and that was my plan. And so I was prepared in that sense. I also was prepared that if the quarterbacks got picked, I would choose a running back because running backs in our league are going to generate the most amount of points. And so from there, I kind of got an idea. I made like a Google kind of spreadsheet, put all the people I wanted down, who I wanted to go first with. But I didn't really make a good document of or did enough research about learning about certain teams, kind of chemistry, or this kind of like how the player was doing, like how was he was like at practices, if he was not showing up at practices, or how his relationship with the team was. And so the draft started, and it was a snake draft. So in the first round I was the fourth pick, and then since it was snake, I became I think the eighth pick then in round two. So it just kept going back and forth like that, 4-8, 4-8, 4-8. And so let's see. So in the first round, I guess the first three people chose the first running back, the second running back, the third running back. And instead of choosing the fourth running back, I decided to choose the first quarterback. That's what I did. So it was Patrick Mahomes rather than, I don't even know who the running back was. And the reason why I did this is because the quarterbacks can also, like a good quarterback can generate a lot of points as well. And so I think I did that. The person below me did another running back. Oh, and this fourth running back was already like, it was Ezekiel Elliott, and so I don't know what his, like, something was going on. Like, he had, like, a questionable thing on the draft thing. And so it wasn't really worth a first-round pick. And so I chose a quarterback, knowing that this is going to be a good player on my team, probably one of the best. And so I believe in the next round, I chose a tight end because a bunch of wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks are still being chosen. And I decided, if I choose the best, one of the best tight ends, he could still be he could skip the same amount of points as a normal wide receiver will, or maybe even a running back would. And so I chose this tight end. Now this tight end is Travis Kelce, so he's on the same team as Patrick Mahomes, which can be really good if they're having a great day, and also can be really bad, for example, if they have a bad, it's just not going right, or it's a bye week. So those two players will be out during a bye week. And so the draft continues. I remember I was looking at, also they have this ranking, so that position rank and an overall rank of where they are in the draft. So, like a kicker and defense would pretty much be the last rounds because they're just kind of, the defense, in my opinion, is you want to see who the defense playing the worst team. That's who you want to put your defense up against. So you're going to, I think, constantly be trading and picking up new defenses, just how the weather is, what team they're playing, how the defense is doing in general. Same with the kicker. If the kicker is in like really windy weather, cold outside, You don't want that kicker. You want someone who's like in an indoor stadium or is in like a perfectly normal day. So I went back choosing running backs, wide receivers, because running backs and wide receivers get a lot of points. Same with quarterbacks. And another funny thing was in the draft is some quarterbacks had got a bunch of points the previous year, but were ranked super low. For example, Jared Goff, because his performance in the Super Bowl made people feel like, I guess, they couldn't depend on him, even though his stats from last year were just insane on fantasy. And so the draft lasted about, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe somewhere around there. And I guess there is always that one person, who doesn't show up for the draft, at least it's just one of the school drafts type of thing. And so the draft continues. I'm actually really happy with my team. Feel like I got the right quarterback. At least my starting lineup I feel really good about. And I have some good bench players as well. Now the one thing, so while I was in the draft, I realized that I didn't spend enough time looking back, for example, the 49ers, because I know I picked up a few players from the 49ers just from kind of hearing stuff that the 49ers are rebuilding. Jimmy Garoppolo's back, which means, Kittle's going to have a better year most likely, and the wide receivers are just going to be a better team this year than they were last year. So I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo when he at least played last year, because he got hurt. I think he had a knee injury of some sort. I think he played 3 games. 2 of his 3 games, he had over 20-point games. So, I mean, that's a good fantasy quarterback. And, the 49ers have especially much better defense. So that's something else. I knew probably the most about them because that's the team I follow. But I did not know anything about, like a Seahawks. I don't know anything about Seahawks or Browns, or in a sense that, like, what their team's expected to be like because they have some of these new players. So that's where I got tripped up at, and maybe my draft picks were not the best as they could have been. So the draft lasted, about 2 hours, and so after the draft, or at least during the draft, people were texting like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know who to pick next," or someone picked up a defense really early, and I remember someone texted like to someone. The person picked up defense super early. Why'd you pick up the defense? Because it's kind of a gamble. He said the defense is a gamble, and I believe a defense is a gamble. And so when the draft finished, I think everyone pretty much just went to bed nothing happened. And then the following day, I get this message saying, "Hey, I want your tight end, Travis Kelce. What would you want to trade for it?" And I was thinking to myself, the odds of me trading Travis Kelce are extremely low. But let's see. He was gonna trade me like a defense team, and a defensive like kind of unit thing, and a second string running back. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm gonna give up Travis Kelce for a defense, which is just all a gamble, and a running back that's not even, I don't think, first round worthy. It was more like the running back was farther down. Because I picked up this tight end in the second round. And so then I also get another trade. This trade's even crazier. So I get someone wants to trade Travis Kelce. Someone wants my Travis Kelce and Adam Thielen, the wide receiver for the Vikings, for like 6 players who like a defense as well, and 6 players I haven't heard of really. So I don't really know if they're gonna be talented of any sort, or just how they're going to influence my team. Also, Adam Thielen, I believe, was my 3rd round pick. So, I mean, that's my top 3 picks. 2 of them could leave for these 6 players I have no idea anything about. And I forgot about this. This was a wide receiver who was ranked farther down. And I was actually watching the Minnesota Vikings game that day. Now, granted, it was preseason. But this Adam Thielen guy and the quarterback were having just... He was able to throw like at least 20-yard passes to him, and this guy can get open. He looks like a good wide receiver, and I got lucky that I was able to watch the game that day and a little bit of the Vikings the previous year to understand that this is a good wide receiver and I could pick him up. And he was ranked much farther down than you would expect him to be. So that's where I'm going to left off from my fantasy kind of draft, like pre-draft, draft, and post-draft. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I want to get the idea of how other people do their fantasy, what has happened to other people's fantasy teams, if they got crazy trades, how their draft was like. So send me that stuff if you can. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate it. Or thanks for listening, I should say. Thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.